the Fit and Healthy Athlete Podcast.
Debbie Potts is here to help you burn fat, optimize health, and enhance your performance in life as you age. We'll explore metabolic health, holistic health, and actionable insights with guest experts and deep dives into health topics. Whether you're an athlete or just looking to thrive, let's discover how to become your best self. Let's get started.
Hey friends, welcome back to the Coach Debbie Potts Show, where we get healthy and fit from the inside out at a cellular level to unlock the strongest, healthiest version of yourself in the future. I want you to get your own future you blueprint because I'm using myself again as a case study, pulling back the curtain on a major blind spot in middle age that I saw in myself, that I feel that more of us need to figure out what's actually going on under the hood. If you want to be your best self in the future, live your best life, move your best, thrive, all of the things that I see my mom at 84 and her friends struggling, and I am motivated in my 50s to start taking action now. Why are we waiting until we're struggling to get help? We can prevent so much of this that's going to happen if we don't do something now. Starting with your vagus nerve, your microbiome, your mitochondria, thyroid, hormones, metabolism, your blood sugar, fat burning, recovery, exercise, performance. All of this we can improve on. I thought I was doing pretty well, feeling pretty almost great, I might say, but I realized I'm still mediocre. I don't know how good I could be feeling until I revealed some hidden sources of chronic stress impacting my performance in daily life and athletic performance. So even if you might be similar to myself, I'm on thyroid medication, T3. I'm on estrogen, progesterone, taking some DHEA. I train consistently. I eat clean. I do the breath work. I do the sauna. I do the stress management work. I do the grounding, morning sunlight. I'm speaking about my own personal experience. I'm sharing my own case study, how it's cracking the code in a way that changed everything for me and what I see working for my clients. We're going to go another level deeper than we have not gone before because I started to think a little bit more as I'm curious and I dig deep as a root cause health investigator and looking always at the why. And then why does that happen? And then why does that happen? And I've come so deep that I'm down into the vagus nerve weeds, understanding, well, if I'm doing all this work, why is my vagus nerve not functioning as strong? And I only know that because of my poor bile flow, low stomach acid, some overgrowth of inflammatory bacteria that are high in lipopolysaccharides, which are toxic. Why do I have these things happening? Vagus nerve needs to be stronger. So remember, when your vagus nerve is strong, it's a communication cable between your gut and your brain. When it's working, the digestion should be at optimal level. It's flowing. Order of operations. There's no roadblocks, no congestion. Inflammation stays low. Our thyroid conversion, T4, T3, happens if the vagus nerve is working. Cortisol stays balanced. Fat burning is active. Energy feels stable. But what I'm trying to get out over and over and over again, when this vagus nerve is irritated or inflamed, the brain reads danger. Digestion shuts down. Stomach acid drops. Bile flow slows down. Cortisol increases. Thyroid conversion decreases. Our metabolism turns off and our heart rate variability drops. I've been studying the vagus nerve more and more lately, but I started learning about it and heart rate variability in 2012. It's been a while, but now I'm able to get so much more information and dig deep and correlate the missing pieces of a health puzzle for clients, including myself. Lipopolysaccharides, an endotoxin from gut bacteria that I just identified in my GI map which I would not have any clue about unless I ran the tests on myself. Lipopolysaccharides from gut bacteria cause vagus nerve toxicity. So even though you might be doing all the right things, as myself as an example, the case study here, I did not know I had high levels of this Enterobacter, and that's causing more endotoxicity. So why did that happen? H. pylori was elevated. I just did 8 weeks of pylori X, then took the test. I'm sure my H. pylori levels were higher than they were. Dysbiosis is if we have H. pylori, we're going to have less stomach acid. We're going to have more bad bacteria come through and get into the gut. Candida, mold toxins, chronic inflammation, low stomach acid, low bile flow, stress, trauma. All these cause vagus nerve toxicity. These irritants literally travel up the vagus nerve and inflame the brainstem, shutting down parasympathetic signaling. So LPS, the endotoxin that blocks fat burning, thyroid function, heart rate variability, the LPS in these certain bacteria that we call bad bacteria in the gut, when your gut becomes leaky, permeability is increased, lipopolysaccharides leak into your bloodstream. And once these guys get out, this bacteria, remember, it's the outer lining of these bacteria, not the bacteria itself, but what they shed, increase inflammation. These endotoxins block T3, which is what I find is going on with me, from entering the cells. So I've been taking the active form of T3 daily, and if you look back at my blood chemistry history, it hasn't changed that much the past year and a half. Slows down thyroid conversion. LPS interferes with mitochondria, shuts down fat oxidation, raises cortisol, increases insulin resistance, and disrupts the vagus nerve signaling. This is why men and women in middle age can gain 10 pounds overnight and suddenly feel inflamed and stressed out. Once that endotoxin is out into the bloodstream, because that lipopolysaccharide came from this bacteria, maybe I had 3 different ones that were high. They shed this toxin. And once it gets out, if you have leaky gut, that's when we have problems. These LPS, lipopolysaccharides, get through the gut wall lining into the bloodstream, and now they're causing endotoxicity. LPS shuts off your metabolic switch. So it doesn't matter how perfect your diet is or your workout plan. If LPS level is high, your mitochondria simply cannot burn fat. So we need to look at the why. How did that happen? How does it impact your thyroid? So the body actually has 2 basic modes. We're in thriving mode or survival mode. If we're in thriving mode, digestion is turned on, metabolism is working, and fat burning is active. If we are in survival mode, struggling, our digestion is turned off, our metabolism is turned off, and the fat burning is shut down. So when your vagal tone is dropped, you have poor vagal tone, which means low heart rate variability, your vagus nerve is toxic because of chronic stress, lipopolysaccharides, and or chronic inflammation. All of the above. Your body chooses survival, not to thrive. So here's what it looks like internally. Thyroid conversion decreases. Your body stops converting inactive thyroid T4 to active T3. T3 is your metabolic accelerator. If T3 is low, your metabolism automatically slows down. Your reverse T3 increases. This blocks active T3 from doing its job. Digestion slows down. If you have less stomach acid, as myself, I discovered, and it's been on and off probably for years because I've had this before, so it never got better. I have more susceptibility to dysbiosis, and that means more sources of bacteria that shed this lipopolysaccharide. When we have low vagus nerve, the bile flow drops when we are in this survival mode. If my bile flow is decreased, our fat digestion stops. And that's what I saw on my GI map. I'm not I'm fat malabsorption, so I'm not breaking down my fat, not due to pancreatic enzymes only, but bile flow. And if I don't have enough bile flowing, my estrogen clearance will drop off and inflammation will rise. If your mitochondria sense danger, we talked a lot about the cell danger response, and they'll reduce producing energy. When our body reduces the amount of ATP it makes, the thyroid activation actually drops, which means your fat burning stops. But it's not your fault. It's your nervous system doing what it's supposed to do. It's protecting you from internal stress. So understanding this mechanism is a key to rebuilding your metabolism. And I'm using myself as an example. If I'm taking the hormones, I'm taking the thyroid meds, T3 specifically, and it's still not making a big shift, we need to investigate what else is going on under the hood that's putting your body into survival mode and out of thriving mode. So understanding how it happens and how important it is to identify, do you have high levels of lipopolysaccharides? Certain harmful gut bacteria produce these LPSs. And when you have leaky gut, which most people do, that LPS leaks into the bloodstream. And remember, it sends a danger signal through your vagus nerve. Your body gives a signal, danger. Lipopolysaccharides, as we have gone over, connect to causing systemic inflammation, brainstem inflammation, elevated cortisol, increased reverse T3, reduction in T3 activation, impaired mitochondria function, blocked fat oxidation. So when people tell me, and myself, I'm eating perfectly and I'm training consistently, but I'm not burning fat, I'm not shedding the fat I want off my body. And people probably tell you, as they told me even when I was 42 years old, starting to have this issues, it's willpower problem. It's aging problem. It's not. It's a cell signaling problem. And then if we see H. pylori, or people have low stomach acid because they've been taught to take antacids, if they have acid reflux, it's the opposite. You want the stomach to be acidic. You do not want low stomach acid. So if we have H. pylori, this infection in your organ, the stomach, actually drops vagal tone and blocks thyroid function. H. pylori is a huge hidden factor in vagus nerve dysfunction. As you know, lower stomach acid, increased inflammation, digestion, dysbiosis, LPS, all this stuff we've gone over, but decreases nutrient absorption, reduces zinc, selenium, iron, B12, impairs thyroid hormone production, irritates vagal afferent nerve fibers. All this is from a result of H. pylori being elevated. Irritates vagal afferent nerve fibers, raises LPS, promotes dysbiosis, slows digestion, increases inflammation, and lowers stomach acid. If stomach acid is low, everything else downstream collapses. Your minerals are not absorbed. Zinc, selenium, iron, B12. We need those minerals, or else our thyroid suffers. If we don't have enough stomach acid, the protein we're focused on eating is not broken down. Your recovery suffers. Muscle protein synthesis suffers. If your bile is not released because it gets a signal from this, what's called CCK, after the food comes from the stomach and it's acidic and it connects these different chain of events, the baton doesn't get passed over to the gallbladder to release bile. If we don't have that bile, we can't break down the fat as well, and fat burning suffers. If we have shift in that microbiome, because we don't have enough stomach acid, we see a rise in LPS. And the vagus nerve slows down again, and metabolism drops. So we see this chain of events, metabolic chaos away from metabolic harmony. And then we see this cycle, the vagus nerve, metabolism, and how this creates ongoing problems. H. pylori makes the whole system sluggish. And it's something you don't know you have unless you do the right lab testing. So going in a little bit deeper, I think is an important part. Testing and not guessing, because I didn't do a stool test last couple years. And so I could have been feeling better than I have been last 2-3 years. Because it's been since 2020, I think I did my last test. Now, thyroid conversion, why it has nothing to do with my thyroid gland, is a good example for other people to learn from. The thyroid gland only creates your inactive T4, a little bit of T3, but mostly your T4. It's your liver and your gut, your mitochondria and vagus nerve that turn T4 to active T3. And if any of these pathways are inflamed, they're stressed or suppressed, T3 levels will drop. Reverse T3, your brakes on your metabolism increases, so your metabolism slows down. But here is what gets even more interesting. The missing link that most people don't talk about, even if you're taking T3 medication, this is what I'm just learning about myself, it's not working if the T3 cannot get into the cell. So how does T3, the active form of thyroid, even if I'm taking a direct medication dose just of T3, still doesn't raise my T3 levels because it's not getting into the cell, because it's getting blocked from lipopolysaccharides. LPS increases inflammatory cytokines. These cytokines shut down thyroid transporters, are called MCT8 and MC10. If these transporters, the bus, are blocked, T3 are not able to get into the cell. The cytokines are blocking up, they're roadblocks. They shut down the thyroid transporters. Inflammation oxidizes cell membranes. If we have inflammation, T3 cannot dock onto a damaged cell membrane. Can't grip on there because of inflammation. And then if our reverse T3, the brakes of our thyroid increases, this reverse T3 molecule, I'm learning, sits on or in the thyroid receptor and it blocks active T3 from binding. So you need to look at your reverse T3 marker. If we have low energy available, your mitochondria is not functioning at optimal level, we don't have thyroid activation. Your mitochondria must have energy for T3 to work. So we need ATP to get T3, because if ATP is low, your thyroid hormone becomes ineffective. So this is why someone can have a normal TSH on their labs, normal T4, maybe even normal free T3. Because we're not looking at what we do as FDN practitioners. Normal is not healthy. Normal is just normal person, which isn't optimal. I want you to look at our FDN blood chemistry functional lab test analysis. We're looking at optimal ranges for your thyroid panel. You still might be normal on your doctor's lab results, but struggle with weight loss resistance, low energy, slow recovery, poor performance, low heart rate variability, because your hormones never entered the cell. The medication isn't the problem. The transport and activation are the problem because the transporters are blocked. The T3 can't enter the cell. If we have inflammation, T3 cannot dock onto the damaged cell membrane. And we need the energy to do it. So why my thyroid medication doesn't make a big shift was this recent aha I had. Because I'm taking T3, I'm taking estrogen, I'm taking progesterone, DHEA, I'm doing the heavyweight strength training, I'm doing the nutrition, I'm doing the recovery tools and the breath work, but my T3 was still at the low end of the range. My weights hasn't budged. My running performance hasn't gotten faster, stronger, no matter what I do. My strength gains are minimal. Heart rate variability is consistent, and energy. But that's why I'm running the full panel on myself, my Future You Blueprint, because I discovered, as I've shared, the GI map with the LPS showing up there, dysbiosis, low stomach acid from the H. pylori, explains why my thyroid conversion is low and why my T3 is not getting into the cells. H. pylori is suppressing the stomach acid and irritating my vagus nerve. My mitochondria test from MEScreen showed I had low energy production because my mitochondria didn't have the energy required for T3 to work. For me, on my MEScreen, it showed my cell membranes need support. And again, the vagus nerve. If I have low vagal tone, shows up for sluggish bile, poor digestion, low nutrient absorption, inefficient liver activation, poor thyroid conversion. Suddenly, everything makes sense when we put all the pieces of the puzzle together, collect all those clues, and look at the whole picture. My metabolic system isn't broken. It's not part of the aging process. It's not my menopause age. It's just blocked. So what we need to look at is what we need to do for you as a unique individual with your investigation. And so how I should rebuild my system might be different than you, but just using myself as an example, again, is looking at what's going on. Where are you in your journey? What are you doing now and what's working, what's not working? What lab tests can we do? A nutritional therapy assessment, get the clues of symptoms and put them together. Look at the whole picture. For me, I'm rebuilding my system, working on my stomach acid support, continuing eradicating H. pylori, reducing lipopolysaccharides, supporting bile flow, gradually working on my cell membranes to improve my mitochondria for 90 days, and vagal tone strengthening with Pulsetto, and tracking heart rate variability to know if I'm improving my vagal tone, looking at the HF and LF and HRV score with my Sweetbeat Life app, wearing the chest polar heart rate monitor to get true data. I'm not using Aura anymore. I don't use HRV on my Garmin watch. I don't own a Whoop. But I'm working on calming that internal inflammation because as I repair the signaling system, my metabolism will get turned back on. My fat burning will improve and my energy will be even better than it already is, and my strength will increase. And I will see my running performance improve. And my T3 levels should increase. But remember, that's my Future You Blueprint based on my investigation of my personal clues and correlations with my data, with my lab test. And so using Pulsetto, a vagal nerve stimulator, daily is part of my foundational protocol to activate my parasympathetic system and support my thyroid signaling, along with the red light therapy, my sunlight and sauna, using the flex beam, using Kineon red light therapy around my neck, using Sweetbeat Life with the polar heart rate monitor to track HRV, LFHF, the balance of my nervous system. So what does this mean for you? I want you to believe that if you're struggling with losing weight, you feel low thyroid despite taking the medication, you're still struggling with exhaustion, your heart variability is just not improving, your metabolism is very slow, and you're not recovering as you should from workouts. You feel inflamed, heavy, bloated, congested, kind of what I've been feeling like when I run. Can't blame your thyroid gland. Don't blame aging. Don't put everything on menopause for us females. It could be starting with vagus nerve as it's suppressed. Lipopolysaccharides, endotoxicity, H. pylori, low stomach acid, mitochondria dysfunction, inflammation blocking T3 signaling. So that's what we uncover in your Future You blueprint. So I think it's understanding what is best for you as a unique individual. Test and not guess. And know that if what you're doing isn't working, it starts to be insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again. If you're doing the vagus nerve work, the breath work, cold exposure, the humming, the ohms, gargling, all that can help. But I want you to know we can't just say, I'm done, this is normal, part of aging, this is how my body works. I don't believe that. We can't say everything is part of aging. I believe that we can get better if we have the right clues. Looking at root cause. For me, looking at low T3 because of endotoxicity and how that impacts my vagus nerve and inflammation and my cell membranes, and then tying my genetics with that, I think is helpful. And looking at the role of bile, as bile is needed and made by your liver. Your gallbladder, many people are getting it taken out for I don't know why, stores your bile. But remember, again, the vagus nerve controls that bile. And bile isn't just for digesting fat. It's actually a fat-burning switch I never thought about. Bile is breaking down your dietary fat. Without bile, you simply cannot absorb fats or the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. And we talked about those omega fatty acids. If fat is not broken down, your body thinks you are low in nutrients. And it might become more prone to store fat instead of burn it. Also keep in mind, bile carries out the toxins, your hormones, your old estrogen. So if bile doesn't flow, your toxins and estrogen get reabsorbed into your bloodstream. That means higher inflammation, higher estrogen dominance for females, slower thyroid, and slower metabolism. So when bile acids reach the small intestine, they activate a receptor called TGR5, and it tells your body, start burning fat, increase mitochondria energy, boost metabolic rate. So if bile doesn't release, this TGR5 does not activate, and our fat burning stays off. That was new to me. This is why clients with sluggish bile may experience more weight loss resistance, bloating after fat, consuming fat, nausea, or food aversion, feeling heavy after meals, lower metabolic flexibility, inconsistent energy. Because the bile signals your mitochondria to burn fat. Bile does a lot. And it's sad how many people get their gallbladder taken out because their gallbladder is not working. So now we have different problems. But go back to the vagus nerve. And when the vagus nerve has that on-off switch for your digestion and metabolic system, your vagal tone, when it's strong, your body feels safe and it activates, as you know already, because we've talked about this many times, your stomach acid, digest enzymes, bile release, gut motility, thyroid conversion, mitochondria activation, and fat oxidation. But when the vagal tone is weak from this chronic stress, LPS, inflammation, toxins, trauma, sleep, overtraining we've been talking about, remember, your body goes into energy conservation mode. So we've talked about how the stomach acid drops, the bile release slows, pancreatic enzymes decrease, your gut motility slows, inflammation increases, and thyroid conversion decreases. Mitochondria downshift ATP, your fat burning stops. So remember, it's not your fault. It's a built-in survival mechanism. Your body thinks We're not safe, conserve energy, stop burning fat, slow the metabolism. So keep in mind your vagus nerve controls bile release, digestion, liver function, pancreatic enzymes, thyroid activation, inflammation, insulin sensitivity, mitochondria, heart rate variability, all this. When the vagus nerve slows down, all these systems slow down with it. So if you're doing everything right, you need to look at what's going on. So your bile is your fat burning spark. Your vagus nerve is a switch that lights a spark. If the vagus nerve does not flip that switch, the stomach acid isn't released, the bile isn't released, and your metabolic fire never ignites. So looking at all this, especially the conversion of thyroid hormones, I think it's so common. So many people have thyroid issues. They're not losing weight. They're taking the medications. And so we need to look at the whole picture and understand what is the missing piece of your puzzle. Men and women, we struggle as we get older and we're just told it's part of aging. So if you want to create the future you and be your best self in the future, we need to put it all together and understand where is your next step. What do you need to do to be your best self? And then you have a plan. So once you restore the vagus nerve and reduce your biological stress, your thyroids, your hormones, metabolism can sparkle again. Remember, thyroid isn't the problem, the cellular environment is. So once we fix what needs to be fixed, we can heal, repair, and reach homeostasis, our balance. So thank you for listening today. Remember, your metabolism isn't failing you. You're not broken. Your thyroid isn't weak. Your willpower is not always the problem. It's your body adapting brilliantly to the internal stress signals that we've been hearing. The signals, but we haven't really paid attention to them or put them together. Internal stress signals. Once you restore the vagus nerve function and lower the inflammation, heal the gut, reduce those lipopolysaccharides, and support mitochondria, we can start to feel better. So, if you're ready to stop guessing and start understanding your body at this deeper level, you can begin your personalized investigation. Just shoot me an email, coachdebbiepots@icloud.com, or head to debbiepots.net and schedule a call to discover more as we uncover the hidden stressors, test and not guess, and create the blueprint your midlife body has been waiting for. So I look forward to hearing from you, and I appreciate your interest in being your best self in the future. Have an amazing day. Share this with someone else who might be struggling and trying to figure out what is wrong with them and feel stuck. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Fit and Healthy Athlete Podcast.
Coach Debbie Potts draws from decades of experience. Ready to optimize your health? Visit www.debbiepots.net for a discovery call. Find her on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at Coach Debbie Potts. To support the show, like, rate, and review. See you next time.